joining us today.
You're welcome, Alex.
In the last academic year, we were in a nationwide lockdown because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So my first question for you is, did this have a negative impact on the college?
It's hard to talk about negative impact. I think it had a detrimental impact on individuals, but as the college as a whole, no, I wouldn't say it had a negative impact.
Yeah.
Day-to-day life was impacted. We had to work very differently. We had to support each other in very, very different ways. And yes, we've seen many more students with mental health issues that we've been supporting. And whilst that's a negative impact for them, as a college, we wrapped around and supported them. So yeah, there were challenges, let's be clear, but negative impact, no long-term negative impact clearly, other than the extra pressure we were all working under and the extra effort we had to put in to get the college through that. Positive impact, I think we've learned a lot about how we can work remotely.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that we've noticed, just one example, would be that rather than travelling to do team meetings, we're now thinking about, do we actually need to spend that hour and a half travelling? Could we just do it via Teams anyway? So whilst we don't want to do every meeting via Teams, because we are human beings and like to be with other human beings, that things like travel are being reflected upon. Is this really necessary? Because that can be dead time, that travel time. So that's one of the positive impacts. I think we've learned how to work together more efficiently and to support each other. So I think people are being nicer and kinder to each other. Not that we weren't anyway, but I think we've doubled our efforts in that regard, and we now understand how different people react in those kind of adverse and difficult situations. I think we've become much more understanding of people's situations when they're dealing with those challenges around how to juggle working from home, homeschooling children, dealing with students that are kind of struggling with mental health issues, students that are also working part-time and carers at home and having to learn at different times, and some with chaotic lifestyles. So we've learned a lot by it, but overall I would say the impact for us and how we work as a college has been positive, but there has been definitely impact on individuals.
Yeah. The past year we've seen East Riding College merge with Principal Institute. How did this partnership benefit the college, and what does this mean for the future?
So Principal Institute TEC Panership, now we've merged and become TEC Panership as one. So many positives there, many reasons why that was the right thing to do. I think as a relatively small college that kind of punched above our weight in the region, we were always quite financially vulnerable if we wanted to invest in a significant project. Have we got the cash reserves to do it? If it didn't quite work out, what were the risks to the financial viability of the organisation? So in those terms, being part of a much larger group has definitely benefited, because we've been able to invest much more significantly in our college campus. So the Institute of Technology we were able to do without any concerns. We've had other redevelopments of engineering and construction facilities. We've invested more than we've ever done over the summer, in our IT infrastructure with new Wi-Fi, new printers, more devices for students to use. So in terms of the capital and the estate and the financial viability of the college, it's made a huge difference to the college. And unless you've used that IT or noticed those differences, you won't have really seen much as a student in terms of how that's impacted positively. Because we've been working remotely, so there haven't been able to be those kind of face-to-face engagements that we've been able to do yet. But those are starting to be planned now, and hopefully over the next academic year, this academic year, students will start to kind of feel that those sorts of things are going on. There have been things happening, teacher education students getting together. I think some media students have done a bit of work with each other, and we're starting to do some shared events, but that hasn't been on the wider scale. But overall, being part of TEC Panership is enabling East Riding College to realise its ambitions, whilst having that security and safety net of knowing we're part of something that's much larger. In terms of geographical coverage, it means we've now got campuses from Scarborough in the north, in North Yorkshire up on the coast, down to Skegness on the east coast in Lincolnshire. And that's a massive geographical reach and area that we now as a wider partnership cover, and that has all sorts of opportunities around meeting the needs of employers, opportunities for students with employers, partnership working like our partnership with Hull City Football Club, all sorts of opportunities. But it's been quite difficult to make that kind of face-to-face and tangible over the last year for obvious reasons, but we're hoping, touch wood, that if there are no more restrictions we can start to do that now during this academic year.
Oh yeah, that's great. Could you describe what it means to you to be the principal and what do you see for the future of the college?
It's a real privilege and honour. I get asked this question a lot, and I don't really get tired of answering it. It's an absolute privilege and honour to lead the college. Clearly, I'm not from the region. My last role was in London, and I trained up here when I was at university. Did my music degree here, so I knew the area quite well, and I knew the potential of the area. So to lead an organisation like East Riding College is frankly the best job in the world. Like, you know, it's a really exciting prospect to come to work every day. So, you know, but it's a complex organisation, and it has been tough over the last couple of years with the pandemic, and we've had to work in very, very different ways. So it is something that's a really special opportunity, and it's a real privilege to be able to do it.
What do you see for the future of the college?
The future of the college, well, I think as part of TEC Panership, it's really exciting. I think, as I said already, we can start to realise that ambition. I think there's some really interesting projects happening around the sustainability agenda with the Freeport, the energy estuary, the work we're starting to do with the NHS, the massive increase in apprenticeships that we've seen at the college, the work we're doing with our high needs learners, the fact that every provision type over the last 4 years we've increased the number of students participating, not least at HE. So we are short of space, so we're working on how we can sort that out. You know, we've got the IoT, as I've said, we've got the extra classrooms over in Minster House, we've got other plans how we can develop the estate, and we wouldn't have been able to have done that as a standalone college in quite the same way. So the future is exciting, working with employers, making sure we continue to meet the needs of what the region and our local communities need, but also prioritising the work we're going to do around some of the government initiatives like the Skills Strategic Development Fund, which is one we got a couple of weeks ago, where we're going to now be able to invest in some electric vehicles for our motor vehicle students to use and train on, ready for them going into the sector and hoping to work on electric vehicles more and more. We're all buying them, but also to train practising on experienced electricians to install those electric vehicle charging points in homes and businesses, because we're going to need charging points everywhere. So that's the very latest curriculum initiative, and that's just one example of some of the things that we were able to do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Have you previously worked in any other educational institutions? If so, how did East Riding College differ?
Really good question, Alex. Yeah, I've been working in education. I worked out the other day 34 years, approaching my 35th year. So I trained initially in schools. I was a music teacher, and then I worked in the music industry on the training aspects for a national organisation. Worked in new academies, worked in private training providers, worked in further education colleges, but latterly I've been more involved in further education. And East Riding College is very, very different to those places. In each of the places I've worked in has something unique about it. So at my last college in London, for example, in London's most diverse borough, we had 139 languages spoken by our students as their first language. English was only about the 17th or 18th most common language spoken by our students. So culturally very, very diverse, very harmonious, and very different to clearly East Riding College. So I think there's always been differences, and I think the main way that East Riding differs is its size, its responsiveness, how it's grounded in its local community, how the people, particularly in Beverley, who've got no connection with the college whatsoever, really identify with what the college does and how it works. And right across all our campuses in Hull, Bridlington and Beverley, how we don't have to have conversations with families and young people, or students of any age actually, about whether they should come to college or not, or why they should come to college. They've already decided to do that. So it's not why should I come to the college, it's can I come and do this course. So that's very, very different from London and other places where I've worked. And that I think is quite unique about this area, because clearly people understand vocational learning, they understand skills development, they understand careers. We don't compete with the school sixth forms in the area because we don't offer any AL courses, and they tend not to really get involved in too much of what I would call the hard VOC subjects either. They do a little bit of health and social care, a bit of media and things, but they don't do the hard VOC subjects. We specialise in that, and we're very good at it. They don't compete with us. Others don't compete really on teacher education, either one of our biggest areas, or counselling or accountancy. So we have a very, very clear remit. So whilst we're a general further education college and we are grounded in our community, we have that unique relationship with the communities and the employers that we serve. And for me, that's one of the key differences to the other places where I've worked recently.
What does it mean to be named the #1 college in Yorkshire for achievement, and what does it mean to you as the principal?
Well, it was a couple of years ago now, so sadly another college I won't mention pipped us to the post in the year before the pandemic, and those kind of results haven't been published nationally because of the way that qualifications have been assessed. But when we had that accolade, it meant a great deal. Clearly, there's lots of colleges in Yorkshire, there's some very, very good colleges in Yorkshire, and to get that accolade on the hardest, toughest measure possible meant a lot. But it was also, you know, we weren't going to keep it very long because it's really hard to maintain that standard right across the piece because everything that you do counted. So it was really good, but we still are, you know, with the TEC Partnership now probably in the top 5 colleges within the country, and in the year after that, when we were in Yorkshire, we actually made it into the top 20 colleges nationally for the first time. So in our own right, top 20, now we're in top 5 as part of the TEC Partnership, and it is all about that high performance, it's about that sustained high quality, it's about that reputation. Do most of the students that come here actually realise that? Probably not. Does that matter? No, because they experience it every day, and they come here for the experience, the fantastic staff we've got, the way those staff work with the students, and the quality of the provision that we give them, and the support we give them around the learning. It's not just about the teaching learning, it's the learner services support, the counselling support, everything else that we do, the careers advice, and above all, the help we get, we give people to get that first job.
Well, that's everything we've got today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.